this week's episode of Let's Get Legal. Well, guys, it is your favorite show where you get all of your immigration questions answered and so much more. We love speaking to Miss Pert Hora. But, this week we're going to do something a little bit different. Normally when we have a new president, a new administration, we talk about the first 100 days of a president's life. Well, today we're going to talk about what the past few months with President Biden's new administration has been for immigrants, like many of us here are that are watching the show. So, Pert, hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm excited once again for you to always be in studio with us and always inundated with, all the questions that people have that they have coming in and want to know, and you're always answering it. But, there's such positive things going on right now with the new administration. And, let's talk about some of the changes as it pertains to immigration.
So, basically, I think, this administration has given people hope and a sigh of relief. So, at least we're not jumping and feeling antsy about, what's happening. Mm-hmm. I think immigrants, attorneys, and a lot of people, actually, even U.S. citizens in general, are hoping that there's going to be a permanent solution for all the immigration problems in this country. Right now, we have a bunch of Band-Aids that come in the form of executive orders. And Mr. Biden, basically, in the first few months, has been trying to undo the executive orders of President Trump. So that's what's been happening in the last few months with President Biden.
So, one thing that I know about you, Pert, is that while everyone's case is, of course, important, you look at domestic violence with women, mm-hmm. Very close to your heart. And, I'd like to talk a little bit about, if somebody's filing for an asylum case under the new administration. Is there more, is it positive? It's looking better?
Absolutely. So I remember, actually, there were two very serious DV cases that I did. And I think it was very early when Trump was elected. And right as, Jeff Sessions had announced that, domestic violence will no longer be like a category that, women could look for to file asylum. Mm-hmm. I had qualified one woman where she just literally made it 2 days before that rule was passed. And then one woman, which was an extremely serious case, we filed for her the day after it was passed. Fortunately, both women today have their status. But getting the first woman was much easier than the second woman because of all the new rules. And then during the entirety of the Trump administration, all those cases that involve women, that involve DV, we had to recategorize it in a different way to be able to qualify them for asylum. The good news under Biden is that DV is again being considered, and in fact quite a few decisions have come down where there were DV victims and they were favorable decisions. So if you are a female or a male, because I believe DV can happen to males and females, and domestic violence is at the core of your claim for asylum, and you're coming from a country where you're not getting too much support from the government or the police themselves are your enemy, mm-hmm. then you may want to go to an attorney and talk to them about applying for asylum in your particular case.
Okay. And I know there has been some more positive movements towards U visas. Can we talk about that?
Yeah. The U visa had the biggest bump in terms of positive news. So U visa, which we spoke about last time, you need to, have a qualifying crime. You need to have an injury that could be physical or mental. You need to have a certification, and you need to, assist the police or some authority that is at question. So what the problem with U visas is it's only $10,000 a year. So we have a long line, and some people are waiting 3 to 4 years for a U visa. Mm-hmm. And under the prior administration, they were actually trying to deport people even if you had a qualifying pending U visa claim, but no other status, they said you could go home. And that's not good for the police, especially if you're a witness or you're helping in the whole the case and situation. But now under the new administration, they made a couple of changes, and they're huge. One is ICE, which is Immigration and Custom Enforcement. deporting a U visa applicant has become a low priority unless there's something else going on. So they are allowed to stick around. Number two, while people were waiting for U visas, they did not have work authorization. So anybody who has been in this country, they know how important Social Security and work authorization is. And to be in this country without one is pure hell. And if you are a U visa genuine applicant and you have to wait 4 years without an ability to work, it's very difficult. So that's the one thing they've done, that they can work while their U visa is being reviewed, and their work card is for up to 4 years. That's big news. And the deferment period for which they get their U visa is gone up to 4 years. These are very big changes. So, but in order to be able to qualify for the work card, you have to have a perfect U visa application, which means you have to have that certification in a well-written affidavit. You need to show that injury, and your crime has to be qualifying. So if your initial screening has all those four, you will qualify for the work card, and that is massive. Like, we know people's lives in our office that have changed because of that one rule. And by the way, this rule is retroactive, which means if you have a pending U visa and you filed it before June 4th, 2021, you can go back and get a work card for if you have a pending application as well. That's big.
And I know we touched upon this on one of our earlier episodes of Let's Get Legal. And just to remind all of our viewers, to date, the cases that PH Law Group Pert Hora's office has had a 100% success rate with the U visas.
Yes.
Thus far.
We screen our cases, but yes, and we work hard for those cases. And U visas, I've been able to do them successfully all over the country, not just from New York or New Jersey or where it may be. As long as you have a police report. And like I said, I always tell my clients, if I cannot get you the certification, I'm not doing your U visa. And if we can get you the certification, then I think the rest of the road is not as hard.
Wonderful. Now, there's been a lot of buzz about applying for citizenship now. Like,
Absolutely.
if you're, a green card holder and you've been holding on to this green card for years or whatever it may be, why is it the best time? What I'm hearing that right now is the best time to file for your citizenship.
I think it's the best time to apply for any immigration relief that you may be qualified for, period. If you qualify for asylum, apply. If you qualify for your visa, apply. If you have a family immigration case, apply. If you qualify to be a citizenship, apply. Because even though we don't have a reform, the environment, the immigration environment is more pro-immigrant than it has been in a while, right? Under the last administration, again, there was a very, very serious threat that they were going to make the U.S. citizenship test extremely hard, almost impossible to pass for a lot of immigrants. And that would automatically disqualify so many people. We have so many elderly people with minimal language skills. People, are good people. They want to pass, they study, and they learn the language to the best extent. But remember, a younger person has better ability to learn the language than a senior citizen. Under the new test, it would have been very difficult for a lot of people to qualify. But again, one of the rules that they have reinstated is the 2008 U.S. citizenship qualifying test is back the way it was. So if you were to decide to apply to become a citizen today, you would be taking the test that people have been taking for a very long time, which is hard, but not impossible. Remember, Biden just has another two or 3 years left, right? We don't know who the next person will be, and we don't know what the new rules will be. And so if you qualify right now, take advantage. Also, fees are going up because, due to COVID, there's a lot of crises. So prices are going up. That includes immigration fees and immigration hikes. So right now, I remember when I started law, it was half the amount. Now it's up to $680 if I'm not wrong, and some of the stuff that they were proposing, it could go up to $1,000 and above. So if you qualify, I don't see any reason for you not to do the right thing.
What other things are we looking at right now under President Biden's administration that has been positive for immigration?
So like I said, asylum. Asylum had become very, very difficult to apply for under Trump again. Just the physical act of applying that form. Sometimes you were sending the form out 5 times because they were rejecting it. for some crazy rules, and there's a Supreme Court case about it.
1 2 1 2.
Then, the categories that you could apply or not apply, or if you had come through a third country. Basically, the screening for asylum has become much more difficult, right? So if you qualify for asylum, I feel this is the right time to apply, which means you have suffered persecution in your country, or you have a fear of future persecution in your country based on the general 5 categories. So if you think you qualify, go see an attorney and have yourself screened. Because we don't know if the reform is going to come or not. So you don't want to be waiting for a reform that never comes, and there's a new administration, and now and the longer you wait, the weaker your case becomes. It's as simple as that. And the other thing is, due to COVID, due to the instability in governments across the world, country conditions across the world have worsened, especially in India, where a lot of my clients are from, Pakistan, Bangladesh, right? In Latin America, these countries, they're declining. So if your country conditions are becoming so bad that you have a fear of persecution to return to that country, you should be going to the lawyer to see if you qualify under the changed circumstances rule. So this is not something I can guide over a show.
Right.
This is the only way you would know, is if you see an attorney and you know what you're talking about, or they know what they're talking about. So that's big. So we've covered citizenship, we've covered U visas, we have covered asylum. There are a lot of other areas, like for example, H visa, consular processing. It would take me forever to get into that. But if you have a family member who's immigrating from abroad, please do look at the embassy rules in that country. But they are back in, they're interviewing again. And H1, there's a whole bunch of changes, but I'm not going to get into that. We'll have to do a show for that. But the other big one that impacts our community directly is the public charge one. That caused a lot of tears. Tears for the attorney, tears for the clients, tears across the board. It was a cruel, cruel thing that they had brought upon in the last 2.5 years during the Trump administration.
Explain what the public charge is.
So basically, let's say if you and I were married and I'm the U.S. citizen and you are the one I'm sponsoring, traditionally they would look at me, my abilities, my finances to sponsor you. Or if I have a parent back home, they would be looking at my ability to bring them here. And you would be screened on a general basis. But under the public charge rule, they were basically not only screening the petitioner, which would be me, but you, the beneficiary of that application. They wanted to know that if I bring Lakshmee Singh in tomorrow, will she be a public charge on the American government? Will she ask for welfare? Will she ask for things from the American government? And how were they determining this? For example, if you didn't speak English too well. Let's say you were a brilliant person, but you don't have a college education. Or if you have a health issue. Basically, they had this kind of a screen for you. They're like, we add this person up. Most likely when she comes here, she will not be that great for America. Now, we don't know that that's true or not, but that's very arbitrary, and that's not how America was built. And America has room for all kinds of immigrants. We can see the labor shortage going on in this country right now. Every headline is pointing to that industries like the fishing industry, the fruit industry, the chicken poultry industry, the garment industry, restaurant workers, everybody is suffering because we don't have labor in this country. We don't have labor at this point. This is the lowest amount of immigrants ever coming to America in the history of America. It's very dangerous. I have been traveling in the last couple of months, and you can see the states where there's no immigration. You can see the decline in those states. Immigration is the backbone of this country. So to have rules that were discouraging legal immigration, by the way, the public charge was to discourage legal immigration. They were legitimately telling one person you could not reunite with your family. Making the citizenship test was legally making it harder for someone to become a citizen and not vote in this country. So those areas of law via executive orders have been undone. They're important changes. They're very important changes. So whether you are a citizen and these issues matter to you, please vote correctly in the next election. And if you are a person without status and you need these immigration benefits, the time to apply is now.
All right. Well, guys, you heard it right here from a Pert Hora. The time is right now. And, week after week, we have these shows to inform you of what is going on with the immigration, new rules, regulations, and we hope that we are helping you here on Let's Get Legal. Now, once again, we're going to take a question that came in. And this week's question is from Lisa from Louisiana. Lisa says, Pert, I came to Louisiana with my husband. He came here on a student visa, and she came with him as his spouse.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're getting a divorce. So she thinks her status would be revoked. What does she do?
So she's correct. So if he's on an F1, she's on an F2. And her status is dependent on the marriage to him because that's the only way she's here. So while she is on F2, she should be going to an attorney and exploring what are her options.
Mm-hmm.
One, she could become a student herself. So she could become an F1.
Okay.
Or she could, from a student visa, become a tourist. So while she's a tourist, she can explore what else is going on in this country. It's called a change of status. Maybe she can, I don't know what her country conditions are or what was the nature of her marriage. Maybe, I don't know if asylum would be a possibility for her. I don't know if she was a victim of any crime. Maybe domestic violence with her current spouse. If he was being violent towards her, then she could possibly look at a host of different options.
Yeah.
But with a general question like that, I would say see an attorney. But there are answers and don't be afraid.
Right. Well, Lisa, I hope that answered your question. And feel free to call PH Law Group at any time or email us again right here. The information is right here. So, Pert, this is all the time that we have for this week's episode of Let's Get Legal. Thank you for coming in, time after time.
I appreciate you hosting the show.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Let's Get Legal with Pert Hora. And, this week she answered so many questions about the new President Biden's administration and all of the things that are so positive for immigrants like you, like me, like all of us. So if you have a question, give us a call at PH Law Group right away.